Hello, this is episode 1 of our Americast series looking at 5 ways that Donald Trump has changed America in his first 100 days back in the White House as President of the United States. Today, we're looking at his promise to embark on the biggest mass deportation in history. So we ask, who is welcome in Trump's new America and who isn't welcome? I'm Matt Chorley in the Americast studio in London.
I'm Sarah Smith in Americast's Washington, D.C. studio.
And it's Anthony Zerker here next to Sarah in Washington.
OK, but let's start with an example of what Donald Trump has actually done.
Under arrest. So turn around.
Okay, let's not. Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand. He's not resisting.
So that is the sound of Mah Khalil, who's a graduate student at Columbia University, being arrested. These officers, who didn't say what agency they were from, turned up at his apartment to take him away. It appears to be because he was one of the leaders of pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University last year.
You guys really don't need to be doing all of that. حبيبي كيف بدي أتصل فيك؟
And you could hear his wife there, who was filming the whole thing, quite distressed about what was going on as he was being handcuffed and taken away. So eventually, he told her to go into their apartment and find his green card. That's the thing that shows that you're a permanent resident of the United States. Not a citizen, but it does allow you to live here. And they looked pretty surprised when they found out that he was a green card holder. But nonetheless, they took him away into detention. He's not been charged with any kind of crime, but pretty swiftly, he was moved out of New York into a detention center in Louisiana, where he has been ever since. And his wife, who was heavily pregnant as she was filming that last month, has since had their baby whilst he's been kept in detention.
So that's a pretty extraordinary single case, and hearing the footage of the arrest, it is clearly a very emotive story. How widespread is that as part of Donald Trump's crackdown, Anthony?
Well, we've seen multiple instances of specific people who were involved in those protests against the war in Gaza last year being targeted. Not all of them, most of them, in fact, don't have permanent status. They're here on student visas and other temporary approval to be in the United States, but they have had that temporary approval being revoked. We're numbering in several hundred now, and the administration has said that they are going through the social media feeds, looking at the backgrounds of students on visas here in the United States, and that they are going to start checking more thoroughly applications for visas for entry into the United States from a broad range of people who maybe have connections in the administration's views to anti-Semitism, which they view as objecting to Israel's role in the war in Gaza, for instance, or ties to various militant groups in the Middle East, or any other kind of disfavored views that they associate with terrorism or militancy.
So let's hear another clip now. This is from Marco Rubio explaining why student visas are being revoked.
If you come to this country as a student, we expect you to go to class and study and get a degree. If you come here to vandalize a library, take over a campus and do all kinds of crazy things, we're going to get rid of these people. And we're going to continue to do it. So when we identify lunatics like these, we take away their student visa. No one's entitled to a student visa. The press covers student visas like there's some sort of birthright. No, a student visa is like me inviting you into my home. If you come into my home and put all kinds of crap on my couch, I'm going to kick you out of my house. And so, that's what we're doing with our country, thanks to the president.
That's clearly the administration saying what it wants to do and then doing it. How effective are they? How accurate is it? Are people being caught up in this and unfairly? Are they being given the right judicial process, if you like?
Now, he is being accused of being a member of a gang, MS-13, a gang that the Trump administration have said is a terrorist organization. He was swept up, arrested, and then, as a result of what the Trump administration calls an administrative error, he was put on a plane to El Salvador, where he's now being held in absolutely notorious prison there, alongside a whole lot of other people that the Trump administration say are gang members. Now, because he was given no opportunity to challenge this and says he's not a member of a gang, this has been a very complicated legal case that's gone all the way to the Supreme Court, and they've said that the White House must facilitate his return to America because he should not have been deported in those circumstances. It is not at all clear that Donald Trump has any intention of trying to facilitate his return. In fact, when the president of El Salvador was in the White House, they were joking about how very, very unlikely that was to happen.
And I'll add that Garcia had a temporary protected status here in the United States. So yes, he came into the country without proper documentation, but he had a judge who had allowed him to stay here. So it wasn't just that he was living under the radar. In fact, they knew where he was, and they were able to pick him up. And also, Mah Khalil, there are no allegations that he did anything illegal, that he violated any laws. He was actually the spokesperson for the Colombia protests. So he was the one who was out there visible in front of the cameras explaining what the protesters wanted, but he wasn't one of the ones who was storming into buildings or doing the occupation that has drawn a lot of the ire and a lot of the allegations of illegality.
This feels like a theme that we'll explore over the 5 episodes this week, of trying to separate the means from the end, the aim that Donald Trump has tried to pursue, and whether or not that's working, whether he's achieving it, and the way he is going about doing that. And clearly, in both these cases and the broader conversation here, are the methods legitimate as well as the aim. Donald Trump explains why he thinks he is entitled to deport migrants without trial.
We're getting them out, and I hope we get cooperation from the courts, because we have thousands of people that are ready to go out. And you can't have a trial for all of these people. It wasn't meant, the system wasn't meant, and we don't think there's anything that says that, look, we are getting some very bad people, killers, murderers, drug dealers. We're getting them out, and a judge can't say, no, you have to have a trial, the trial's going to take 2 years, and no, we're going to have a very dangerous country if we're not allowed to do what we're entitled to do. And I won an election based on the fact that we get them out.
We should also remember, Sarah, that some people will throw their hands up in the air regardless of whatever Donald Trump is doing. But it's not the case that deportation started 100 days ago. Successive American presidents of both Democrat and Republican stripes have deported thousands of people.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of people, and President Obama was one of the presidents who deported some of the largest numbers. And there is no reason why illegal immigrants who have no right to be in America shouldn't be deported if they have been through the due process of being able to answer the accusations against them or claim asylum. What we're seeing now, which is the result of a mistake that saw Abrego Garcia being sent to El Salvador, is this huge clash with the courts between Donald Trump and the Supreme Court now, that's moving us into a potential constitutional crisis as to whether or not the president can do whatever he wants, even if the courts try to stop him. And if we move into that space, there's then a big question about all the people who are very happy to see illegal immigrants being deported. Are they happy to see the president taking on this kind of power and denying people their day in court?
And Matt, you remember this isn't anything new. I mean, we saw this in the first Trump administration with the family separation policy at the border, where families coming over, the parents were then treated as criminal entrants. Their children were taken away from them and held at a different facility. There was a massive outcry about that it was wantonly cruel. But the administration, in some way, that was kind of the point, that they want to make it so unpleasant, so difficult, so painful even for immigrants coming over into this country without proper documentation, that they don't even try to do it. So that was one way they did it. And now this way they're expanding it across the country, where undocumented migrants or people who they view have violated immigration laws or the permissions that they have to stay in this country, they are being targeted, not just on the border, not just when they cross over a few hours later when they're encountered by border patrol, but anywhere in this country, whether it's in churches or schools or workplaces or universities.
We've covered a lot about who Donald Trump doesn't want in America and why he wants them out. Who does he want in, Sarah? So are you saving up for a $5 million gold card for US citizenship?
If only I could afford one. Yeah, but that's so. These gold cards are being produced now, and they look like a gold-coloured credit card, but with a portrait of Donald Trump, his official picture on the front of them. Yeah, and so wealthy people is who he wants in this country for $5 million, you can purchase the right to stay here, essentially. And Donald Trump says he's going to make billions of dollars for the Treasury out of this. I'm not sure, Anthony, has anybody got one yet and arrived on their gold card?
I think they're still working on it. I don't think it has been officially unveiled yet, although they had that prop, the little gold card that Donald Trump showed to reporters on Air Force One a while back. Obviously, people who are wealthy, people who have educational backgrounds, people from, shall we say, white countries, European countries, that seems to be what Donald Trump is focusing on. But it is just even, you're even seeing people from European countries who have come into this country on tourist visas to visit, caught up in this as well, where Immigration and Border Enforcement is saying that they're actually coming here to work. They're coming here. They aren't presenting themselves properly. Maybe they don't have a hotel reservation. Maybe their paperwork isn't exactly in order, and they are getting they're getting held in detention facilities as well. So it is just a general ramping up of enforcement across the board.
Okay, so to end our conversation then, looking ahead to maybe the next 100 days and beyond, how does this play out? Do people start becoming, the great American dream of people going to America and seeking their fortune and it being this a sort of a mix of cultures of people from around the world? Do people stop going to America, worried they might get caught up in this process as you're talking about, Anthony?
You see the tourism numbers from Canada, for instance, have dropped precipitously, and it's not just because there are Canadians who have been detained or Canadians who have run afoul of immigration laws, but also what Donald Trump has been saying about Canada, and they're just generally unhappy. But I'm curious, Sarah, you're in contact with a lot of Europeans. Do you hear from your friends and colleagues that they maybe now is not the time to come and visit the U.S.?
I think it definitely gives people pause and think twice about, is there anything on their social media profile or any reason why they might be questioned at the border. And you can see the numbers. Tourism from Europe is significantly down as well. Now, whether that's because they don't like the look of America at the moment or they're worried about what might happen when you come across a border official, it's difficult to say, but it's something that the way in which people like these student protesters have been rounded up and arrested for essentially, speaking their mind, what they would have thought they had a First Amendment free speech right to do, is something I think everybody who's not an American citizen has to think twice about now.
Okay, let's end it there for now. Remember, you can listen to the whole series looking back at Donald Trump's first 100 days back in the White House on BBC Sounds or wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for Americast to find all the episodes.